What's going on? So, yeah, I'm just piggybacking on what you said about, like, what are we doing? What are our thoughts during this coronavirus? Conspiracy theories, things like that. And I just feel like the people need to try their best to become more conscious and aware, not just about their government, but be in tune with themselves. Like before the shutdown, everybody was on a grind, hustling, bustling, have to go to work, have full-time families, have, just always on the grind. Nobody never stopped and really looked at themselves. And I think, the blessing part of this, crisis is that we get to take a stand. We standing still right now. A lot of people walking around this earth not knowing who they are. And I really feel like this is the prime opportunity to get in tune with yourself, get in tune with your families, even though everybody's working hard to provide for their families. They don't really know their kids because they spend so much time outside of the household grinding. Now, as far as like the fear and the politics of it all, I feel like everybody should do their own research and just stop depending on what the news people are saying, because a lot of that shit could be propaganda and false narratives. They giving you information they want you to know, not what's really, not the wizard behind the curtain. Everybody think they know that wizard. That wizard out there pulling strings. So I feel like, yeah. So this is nobody really could to know what is 100%. Because it's too much information. Even though I agree with you, we live in our days online, but it's so much information being thrown at you, from conspiracy theories to what's on the news to your own belief system and stuff like that. It's hard to like consume what's really real. So I feel like people need to pick things that's most important to them, things that they gravitate to the most, and fuck with that.
I appreciate that. Now, I hope all my audience, everybody out there heard that and appreciate that as well, the same way I did just now. I mean, that was definitely a common knowledge, Jew. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I couldn't have said it no better. Just listening to you and having you be able to deliver that the way you delivered it, gave it to the people in a common sense way. You know what? It's like they don't get a chance to get that, right? And that's the reason, once again, I can't stress it, that's the reason why when we move as a movement, we shape and change the world.
Yes.
If you look at each time we changed the world, we did it as a movement. And right now, if we're separated and quarantined because for whatever, it doesn't matter. That's not the hard part. The hard part is we're quarantined, and yet it's harder to get together in one place where we don't even have to be physically there.
Yeah.
Right. So the fact that everything that you said was real. Take this time out. There was a time where people was walking around stressed because they had to go to work every day.
And tired.
I never get no time for myself. And now you have that time for yourself. Now you have that time to know what are you going to do. See, that was always the problem. So now take this time to learn some of the things you always wanted to be, into. Do some of the things that you always wanted to do. I mean, not saying that it physically has happened to everybody, but there's some people that the government said, listen, if you can't pay the rent right now, don't worry about it. Everything is, you're not going to get that. All right, so for those 2 months that you didn't have to do that, take that time to do something or to learn something that you want to be after all of it. You want to be doing that because it's not going to go back to the way it used to be, in the sense of everybody being that free and radical. It's going to take a little bit of time. So if it's going to take a little bit of time to do that, then we need the tools. We need the tools to know how we're going to refix this stuff.
Yes.
And the politicians they speak political, right? We don't speak political, right? We in the urban areas, from the hood, whatever you want to call it. We don't speak politics, right? So if a politician is trying to speak to us, we don't understand their language. And all we're going to see is the basics of their language.
Yeah.
Just like a person that's Spanish trying to speak to a person that's Russian, they're never going to understand each other past the small basics, like hola, meaning hi, your hand waving. So you could do the basics, but anything past that you can't get past.
What if this time now is a perfect opportunity to do that, especially since, before everybody was so busy in their lives and circumstances, and they didn't want to sacrifice their livelihood to get in tune with politics. Like, there's a lot of things that people will complain about in this world, and they will complain, but nothing gets done because, I don't want to lose my job, or I have to go to work, so we're not going to protest MTA because I have to go to work. Now is the time. I feel like right now, I'm getting my gun permit. I feel like a lot of things that as a people, especially colored people, we were doing wrong before. This is the time to get that shit right. A lot of the laws and stuff that we were naive to and didn't understand, we should learn those laws. A lot of people don't even know, the amendments or just basic law knowledge that can help them when they're walking in the street. I'm a mother of 4 sons, so I have to sit here and try to not only tell them what's actual law, but street codes too, because what's good for the rest of the world doesn't really apply to us. So especially people, and then now, with social distancing, I feel like that's another excuse to separate us. Like you said, we do better when we in numbers. Like a lot of the movements, a lot of things, even laws that was changed on behalf, especially on colored people, because at that time there was an organization, there was a movement behind it, there was something. And I'm worried about this. I'm worried about the crisis and all this social distancing and stuff, because I see it now with people's attitudes when I go to the supermarket. Like, nobody wants to touch nobody. Nobody wants to be around nobody. And we are human. We're full of compassion and love. We crave. And like you said, we do adapt. If we adapt to a point where we lose love for our fellow man, we don't have no respect for life or nothing like that, that makes it easier for any enemy, whoever your enemy is, to infiltrate you, because you're standing alone. Nobody's gonna be walking or talking or fighting on your behalf no more. You think it's bad now with people pulling out their camera phones? It's gonna be worse. I feel like it's gonna get even worse to the point where nobody's gonna even speak up. Even though there's a lot more keyboard revolutionaries, people who only talk about issues only online, I feel like it's going to even be worse, where that conversation is not going to even happen anymore. I feel like even though we want to stay safe,
Well, one of the reasons why, and that's why I'm just listening to you. And I very rarely get, that these levels of Jews from, the average person, So, it's everything that you're saying is just so real. I'm glad that my people is getting a chance to hear it. And you if you pay attention to the way everything is going now, one of the things that gets me is the little girls and the little boys that are 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, whatever. When they got to go outside, they got to play. Remember, they were 5, 6, whatever. So they were used to playing a year, 2 years ago, a year ago. And now all of a sudden they got to look up at you when you holding their hand, and they got to ask you, Mommy, how long do I got to wear this mask? And why is everything like this? What happened? Why is everything this way? What are you going to tell them? What are you going to say? And there is no, I don't know when it comes to protecting the child. You have to. So you may not know at that time. You may give it to them, explain certain that whatever is but deep down when that door closed and you put them to bed, I got to do something.
Yes.
I can't just sit here and let this invisible bully run because you may not get me, but I don't know who you may else. I gotta do it. I'm doing it for them because they're the ones that gotta grow up tomorrow. So I don't know what's going on right now, and I can sit here and tell you. First of all, I gotta use my common sense because, and everybody use common sense. I get it, but listen. This is my point. Is what she's saying. Like we gotta start somewhere. Let me tell you something. If you're in a fire, the worst thing you could do is panic because you're not gonna find the extinguisher. Those 3 minutes that it took you to grab it caused your back to get on fire, and now you can't even grab it, and now it's all over with just because you took those 3 seconds to panic. So those 3 seconds cost you. You understand?
Yeah.
Every minute, every minute counts is what I'm saying. So I can't say no better. Everything that you're saying, you're giving it to the world, and this is what this whole thing was about, right? So when I was speaking to some of my hip hop brothers, I'll just put it like that, and it's a thin line between what we do as artists because we're so used to promotion, but this ain't a time where we want to be in promotion mode. But what I mean by that is, if the organization that we created, all of us, there's a lot of us too that's with United Fight Against Corona. It's a lot of us behind closed doors. The hardest thing was to when we start bringing it to the public, we don't want them to just feel like we're capitalizing off a catastrophe. That's what everybody ran out there and did. I mean, there were thousands and thousands of people who ran and they went and made and got the wrong mask. They went and got the wrong gloves. They wore them at the wrong time. They didn't know how to take them off. They didn't know how to put them on. They didn't even know. All they went off of is all my life I've been into hospitals and I've seen doctors with this type of mask and these type of gloves, so that's what I'm gonna get.
Yeah.
And it's not their fault because again, the politicians that is up there, they're not sitting there telling you what type of gloves to wear, when to wear them, and how. They're just going, wear masks, wear gloves. They don't teach you anything.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, yo, fuck, we got to make this movement. And I said, at some point in time, I said, look, I speak the language of the hood because I grew up in the hood and came from the hood. So I speak the language of the hood, the same way a Spanish person speaks Spanish. So when I speak to my people, they're gonna understand me because they understand the language that I'm speaking.
And I think that is necessary, honestly, especially, like I said, I got 4 black sons. I'm raising them to be men. And before the crisis, their school system, they had nobody that represented them or was relatable or anything like that. They didn't even know our culture or how to even address me. You understand what I'm saying? I'll go to their school and they already have an idea of who they think I am until I'm sitting there talking with them, and then their whole demeanor and perspective change. And I feel like, especially in hip hop, all the lyricists, like a lot of these rappers, even unsigned artists, they don't understand how much power they have. Like, I went to a showcase called I Will Graduate, and it was a whole bunch of like high school people. And when these artists came up, even artists that were like unsigned, that are known like on social media and stuff, they went berserk. People don't realize how much power they have in that. And I feel like instead of a lot of artists only concerned with just being an artist, they should start being school teachers, being the new leaders of this new school, being that influence. Because they have millions of sponges, clean sponges, ready to soak their asses up, and they'll listen to them before they listen to me. I'm old school to my kids. They don't,
We'll get it, and that's old. That system will never change. But that will never change as far as us being old school and the kids and But we'll get it because you're hitting some really, really, really good things. You're hitting some good things. And you got to understand some college comes from collar, right? Collar, college, right? So that, and that's very, very important because college was relevant in the industrial era. College was a thing in the industrial era because college really was made as a platform for the special to get put in special in conditions in society. Just put it like if you went to Harvard and after you came out and you was looking to be in society or a job or whatever, the guy would be like, "Oh, he came from Harvard." Obviously, we would assume he knows a lot, blah blah blah. That doesn't matter today.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. Look, you go to a place today, you probably learned the thing line. You probably learned the system. You know how to develop. You know how to code. You know how to do all this stuff. The people, the boss just care about that. They don't give a damn if you came from Harvard, or the rest of that. They're like, can you get the job done? Can you manufacture these processes? Do you know how to code this app? Do you know how to do yes? I don't care which school you came from. I'm not gonna look at your broke resume this is that we're in the information. The industrial era was the time when you had to shake Mr. Fabersham.
Wait, you cutting in and out a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you cutting in and out a little bit. I don't know if you can hear me.
Can you hear me now?
No.
You know they don't like revolutionary talk. You know they don't like.
I'll get off the live if it's messing with your thing. I'll get off.
No, okay.
Because it's like you in and out, and I don't want to mess up your live.
It's all good, girl.